Today we're going to talk about how to create a high key photo. High key is typically white on white or very light tones on light tones. In this case I've got this little mask, little porcelain thing that bought at a dollar store. It's kind of a craft kit for kids. It's great for practicing this. You could use a white egg, anything white, a white cup, anything like that is great for this. You want to put it onto a white surface. This is a pillowcase that I grabbed for a second just to do this. You could use a big sheet of white paper. Anything that fills the frame and is white is great. So chances are when you take a photo like this, try and kind of fill the frame, it's going to look like this as opposed to this. So what's happening here? What we want, we have a white object and a white background. It shouldn't look gray. But what's happening is that the camera believes the world is 18% gray. That is the standard in photography. If you add up all the tones in an average scene, it adds up to 18% gray. However, in this case, because we're shooting white on white and there's very little blacks or neutral tones, it's all white on white with just slight shadow detail, the camera gets fooled, and that's just how it works. So the best thing you can do is to increase your exposure so more light gets through to your sensor or your film if you're shooting film. In manual, that could be opening up your f-stop, say going from f8 to f5.6 to maybe f4. Or you could set the shutter speed. If you're shooting it at 1/25th of a second, you could then take it down to 1/60th or even 1/30th. You probably need a tripod for going slow like that. Or with modern cameras, because they can take very high ISO by comparison, you could go from ISO 100 to ISO, say 400, which would give you that same exposure. Those are all ways to handle this. If you're shooting on an automatic camera, I'll show you the really quick way to do it. Okay, so we're going to get in close to the scene. I'm going to hit there's a little plus minus button here. And you can see that my second shot is +2. Here, let's take it down to, that's average. And we're going to take it up to +2. So that shows that it's putting in more light. So when is this handy in the real world? Well, if you've ever shot in fog, you'll find that the fog doesn't look as light and misty as it did to your eye. That's because the camera doesn't have the contrast range to see fog the way that we do. So by increasing the exposure, you actually bring back some of that airiness to the fog that makes it so cool to look at and to photograph in. Snowy days is the same thing. Quite often you get gray snow. Well, snow is not gray, it's white. So you want to make sure that the camera is adjusted so that it sees the way that you and I see. So that's high key photography.